Hello, welcome to the fifth video or so of my Clarence Chronicles, I am now calling them. Clarence, if you're unaware and this is maybe your first video that you're stumbling on, Clarence is a character in a children's book that I am writing and illustrating. And this is a project that is a passion project. It has no, I don't have a publisher that I'm working with currently anyways. I'm planning on self-publishing. Excuse me. I do have 4 published books already. My first published book was released in 2017. But I kind of want to try this self-publishing route, but I'm not really sure. We'll see what happens. But anyways, this is just something that's being birthed from a place of passion and dreams and proving to myself that I can. Even when it's hard, and I can learn to be really disciplined with my creativity. I can learn to be really dedicated to something that I know I'm really passionate about and excited about, that I don't know what's going to be at the end of this. I don't know if it's going to make that much money, or if my mom is going to be the only person that buys the book, which is totally fine. So I am just doing it because it's been very healing for me, to be honest. That will probably make more sense once I release more details about the story, or release the story details. I don't want to read the story, obviously, just yet, or show you every single part of this book that I've illustrated thus far, because of copyright stuff. I don't want people to copy me and all that kind of stuff, even though I'm creating things in the world to show that I was the original creator of them. I still don't want to have to deal with the mess. So anyway, we're keeping it just a little bit sparse, and these videos are mainly to show you an inside peek inside my brain during the creative process, and what I'm learning, what I'm struggling with, the obstacles that I'm coming across in developing these characters and creating a whole unique world from scratch. So creating, this story, I already wrote it. I wrote it this past November or December. After, I've already mentioned this in a previous video, but after something happened with our son at school, and I'm going to be keeping the details private for, my son's privacy reasons, all that kind of stuff. But anyways, something happening at school, and it just spurred a lot of these really good conversations with my son and myself and my husband and all of us. Over these last few months. And it also brought up some things from my own childhood and, reparenting myself, relearning some things, growing, expanding, all of that. And so this story is something that is very personal, but also told in a way that everyone can relate to, because we all go through these different things in life that help us either expand and, go inward and expand, or we end up staying stuck. So that's a general overview, or whatever, backstory of the Clarence story. I'm also not talking about the title yet, so the videos are just going to be called Clarence Chronicles for now. And I think this is the 5th one or 6th one. No, it's the 5th one. And I have a few big updates for you guys in this one. Last week, I think I was showing you the opening spread, where Clarence is kind of tied up all in these knots, and there's 3 different Clarences. I'll show you it right now. I think this is going to go with the opening text, not this, but this. 3 Clarences all kind of twisted and tangled, lined up at the very bottom with tons of white space above him, because that's another part of this creative process. I don't want to just paint an illustration that goes perfectly on the nose with the text that's above it. I want it to feel like there's messages within the environment of the story itself, within the illustrations itself. So I want the space around Clarence in the beginning to feel really empty and void. So he's a very minimal character. There's not much going on with him except for the tangles that he is webbed up in. And I want that to be a C curve kind of at the bottom of the spread when you open it. And layout wise, I just want it to feel really empty up top. So that it just, you're like, where is this guy? Is he in something? Is he in a room? Or is he like outside? What's going on? And you just become more curious about the world of Clarence, and it doesn't give you any answers right away. So that was the opening spread. I showed that last week, and then I've now been working on refining the tree, because the tree is kind of the last main element or character. It's not necessarily a character, but an element in the story. There's Clarence, who is the little gumdrop shaped guy, who's the main character. And then there's a crow, who is also one of the main characters. There's really only 2 characters. And then the world is going to keep growing and expanding as the story evolves. So a few of you guys in the last video mentioned in the comments like about incorporating more color. There's going to be lots and lots of color in the end. I want it to be like the slowest burn of gradually building color. So it feels so like, like what's about to happen? Because it just, the story grows. I don't want to give away the story, so it's hard to really explain it. So anyway, I've been refining the tree. Last week, I think I showed you a version where it was like this bluish leaf that I was doing with a more orangey brown trunk for that contrasting orange and blue element. And where did she go? Well, actually a couple things I want to show you. So the tree has evolved from, these are just, by the way, I'm ADD, so we're just going to bing bong, bing bong, bing bong. But the creative process, when I'm trying to find, or at least for me, when I'm trying to find these characters, I'm literally just blasting some really good tunes and dancing in here. Like, honestly, just like getting loose is what I would call it. Dancing, you could call it, I guess. Getting loose and painting really crappy trees. Like just like getting paint on paper to just see what ideas spark from what happens. And so one of the couple first things that I did in that really beginning stage was, that's a very strong word. I'm not going to use that word. That's a very strong word. I would change these leaves next time, was my note to myself, because I didn't like the shape of them. They felt like very just quickly done, no thought, no attention given to them. But I was just trying to play with colors at this stage, just trying to play with the overall shape of the tree and the color palette. And so in that stage where I'm beginning to just put ideas on the page, it's very quick. It's usually not good. And it's just to explore color and shape. So from here, this guy, I took it to here. Like, I want the trunk to feel more creamy and unique in its color and the wobbliness. And let's also see what it looks like with way, way less leaves. So that was like one of the first couple times that I did the tree. And then she transformed into a blue tree. One second. Like this. Like, what if the first scene where Clarence meets the crow, what if Clarence is looking up at the tree and there's a crow in the tree like this, like that kind of perspective. Did not like how that came out. This is way too pale, and this is not bold and rich enough at all. But again, just exploring different versions of the same thing to see what comes out. And and I'll show you how it's evolved since then. It's taken some really crazy twists and turns. But this is kind of the scene or the setup of Clarence meeting the crow. He is gonna be, at a window looking outside at a tree that I'm actually going to have extend beyond the window, because there's going to be no walls in the Clarence world. There's just going to be open space. And so there's going to be this floating window, because his reality is not our reality. He doesn't live on planet Earth. He lives in planet Clarence. So there's going to be a tree that I will show you that I'm so happy about how it's ending up. And then Crow will be sitting on that tree in the window frame. Clarence with his tangle bits. I was originally going to do like a raining cloud on him, but I decided not to do that. And he's going to be the tangly inky bits. Is either up against the window looking out, or he's off to the side looking, and then the shadows will give him some sort of like he's on the ground, but we don't know what it looks like. So, and then he eventually has to get outside. So I have this view or perspective of him at the window, and we're outside looking at the crow on the tree, and then Clarence on the inside. And this is not perfect. None of these thumbnail sketches in this sketchbook, none of them are perfect. They're just ideas of how to weave the story in illustration form. And then somehow he needs to get outside. And I do not love the idea of him just being, we see him inside, and then all of a sudden right on the next page, he's outside. So I have been thinking of ways to get him outside, and that's what I've been working on this week. So here is kind of my second, I really love how wobbly and curvy this tree is, but it would need more detail on the trunk. But this is kind of the rough idea of having a window. It needs to be much darker, maybe a thicker line, or darker pen. And obviously this side of the window needs to be straighter. I'm probably not going to put down any of these fluffy details. I still want it to feel really empty and void, but having the tree or some sort of shadow behind the tree and it overgrowing, this will be taking up a huge page by itself. And then it moved on to Clarence at the window. Don't love this tree, but this is feeling a little bit more clear what's happening. And also it has his little tangles and his arms resting on the window. So again, I don't love this tree, but and this is backwards because I'm on selfie mode, but it'll be flipped. This will be on this side. Maybe it doesn't flip once I don't know. Anyway, so the tree, this is not the tree, but this is getting closer to what I want. And again, this shadow coming out behind him to show that there's light coming in through the window is important to show that. And so there's that. And then I was playing with, still in the blue and orange phase, and playing with the type of tree shape that I wanted. So this is more of a cypress tree, I think. I don't know. Surprisingly, I'm not super knowledgeable on types of trees. I just paint them. But anyway, this one feels more fun. I love that it kind of feels like a brain or something, or a nervous system. And there's all of these little branches everywhere, and it's more splashy, but it still needs to be more vibrant. But then I was kind of tripping on where does the crow fit? He's just gonna have to be squeezed in there. So I didn't want that either. So then, and I painted that probably 3 days ago this week. So I'm still let me just tell you, this last week, I was very frustrating in terms of progress, but that's because I'm still in this tug of war mentally of it needs to be done fast. Why do I feel like it needs to be done fast, first of all? Why do I need to feel like it needs to be done by a certain time? This is a passion project. It's not something that, in my business with my courses and all these things, we're looking at data, we're looking at previous years and how people respond during different times of year to sales or to whatever. And I can feel that business brain coming in with Clarence, which I don't want that to be a part of this process at all. I want to keep it really pure. And not that I'm saying that's necessarily wrong or bad. It's absolutely not, because it's a vehicle for spreading your passion, spreading your creativity and your gifts. And so you do need to have the knowledge and the skills in the business department if you want to spread the good news of what you're putting out in the world. So I'm not saying that that's like a bad thing necessarily, but because I want this to feel so me, like so like birthed from just here, you know? I want to like just like keep that even the mindset of like needing it to be done or to be further along than what, like, you know, is that making sense? So I don't have any deadlines, but I've been kind of juggling with that tug of war feeling, like I said, of feeling like I wish I was further along in the process, but I finally yesterday had a big breakthrough with the tree, and I'll show you in a second what it looks like now. But I had a big breakthrough with the tree this week, actually yesterday, after many a frustrating painting day in a row. So again, if you're unaware or this is the first video that you've watched of the Clarence Chronicles, I haven't been allowing myself to work on anything else except for this for the month of December, because I want all of the focus and all of the attention to go into this one project. Because I am so ADD, it's been really quite an experience. I've learned a lot about how I work individually, how I work and get my best work, like my best paintings, my best ideas, and how those come, and how I have to set up or design my day in order to have the best outcome at the end of the day. And that doesn't necessarily mean that all of these trees that I've done that I'm not going to use are a waste, because I've used every single one of those trees, even the ones that are the super quickie sketches, like I'm absolutely not going to use any part of that. I know what I'm not going to do. So they are notes, they are, examples of that help me as like a stepping stone to get to the tree or the Clarence or the scene or the whatever. So anyway, the creative process is not perfect paintings every time you sit down. It feels like it should be, because scrolling Instagram, you only see people's perfect paintings, or you only see people's perfect end products that they're proud enough to show online. Or it feels that way because the teacher you follow on YouTube is showing you how to paint something, but actually it took the teacher probably 3 or 4 or 5 different tries, and also years worth of practice on those techniques in order to be able to do that end painting, in order to show you that one painting. So anyways, do not get down on yourself if you have the ups and the downs. Whoa there, hair. If you have the ups and the downs in your creative process and you feel like you are still not seeing many results in your work and you're getting frustrated, happens to literally everyone. I've been painting for most of my life, but seriously with watercolor for the last 12, 13 years. And there's probably 45 to 50 different paintings in my office right now, on my floor mostly, that I am not going to use. And only like 4 or 5 paintings that I'm actually happy with. And those might even change as the story continues to develop. So no firm grip on the end result. Trust the process. That's what I keep telling myself. And so I am here now to tell you that as well. If you're, visiting this channel because you're new to watercolor or art or whatever, or creativity in general, just enjoy the process and try to be as attentive as you possibly can during the process. That's really all it takes to transform your work, is giving it the attention that it deserves. Like, we are so bombarded with things that are seeking and after our attention, like the habit of checking our phones every morning, the habit of scrolling social media for no reason for 2 hours. It has become very, very habitual to do these things, at least for me. And I know I'm not alone in that, because you go outside and everybody's literally looking down at their phones. And so it's like, it's doing something to your attention and your ability to focus. I don't know what that is yet. Obviously, I'm not a scientist. I'm not researching this topic, but I know from my own experience that my attention and my focus has been something I've had to really, really be disciplined with during this process of writing and illustrating a children's book. And I'm really grateful for that alone. Like if nothing else comes out of this writing and illustrating this children's book process, it's at least helping me get more disciplined and more focus and changing my brain, literally. Because every single day I have the temptation to open my phone. I deleted all my social media anytime I have the inspiration. Like when I'm in my studio is the only time I'll re-download either TikTok or Instagram, but I won't allow myself to keep it on my phone. I delete it. I won't check it on desktop. I'm not checking emails throughout this process. That's only like outside when I'm not sitting down with the intention to paint. And I'm anytime I have a stray thought come in too, I've become really, really aggressive with my thought life and really, really intentional with what I allow into my thoughts, especially when I'm painting. Because the more I'm able to hyper focus or get in the zone on whatever it is I'm focusing on, what I'm painting, I know it's going to be 100 times better than if I'm like thinking about all these things, the background noise, the thing I forgot to say, the email that I have to respond to, all of that. Like it's going to be distracted work. It's not going to be my best work. And I want it to be my best work. I want every single part of this book to be my best work. So we are being very intentional. And anytime I feel frustrated with the results of something, I sit there and I ask myself questions about it. Like usually going through some sort of Rolodex of questions like, is it the colors that feel off? Is it the shapes that feel off? Is it the perspective that feels off? Is it, if Clarence is with the tree, is it the vibes not working together correctly? Like, are they two totally different vibes? And is that why it feels off? Or is it because I just need to refine certain things? Like instead of like this got a little bit lazy over here, it needs to be a cleaner shape, or I want to get more loose up in here in this tree, etc. So asking myself those questions on every single thing that I've painted. Like I said, there's been like 45 to 50 different things, maybe even more. If you include my sketchbook, it's probably hundreds because that's where I've been doing my thumbnails, my thumbnail sketches. But anyway, about 45 to 50. Finally, let's talk about this tree, cutting myself off. You get the point. Okay, so yesterday, I didn't have any time to paint, and I was getting really frustrated with that because like, again, I'm battling with this tug of war feeling of like, I need to be productive every day. I need to get certain amounts of paintings done every day. I need to feel this way at the end of the day. But every day is a step forward, even if I don't have a painting that I am happy with at the end of the day. Because like I said, learning from mistakes, et cetera, and making improvements. And so yesterday I had to like do dumb things, like go to the bank. I needed to run errands and do this thing for a party and this birthday and all of this stuff that I was just getting frustrated by. I was like, I really just don't have time to do this right now. And I came into the office at probably 1:30 in the afternoon, and I had until I think 3 before I had to hang out with my son. So I knew I had an hour and a half, but I knew that I could not bring that energy of my frazzled day and my frustration into my painting process. So I meditated for 20 to 30 minutes, which maybe even just 6 or 7 or 8 months ago, Jenna would have been like, that's a waste of time. You can meditate later, just get to work. But I have learned through this process and also through other healing journey stuff that I've been on this last few years,